Hello everyone. As promised, in this video, I have brought all about active and passive voice. In this video, we will read what is active and what is passive voice. Why do we need passive voice? What are the conditions for passive voice? What are the steps of converting active to passive voice? We'll read the grammatical structure of passive voice, and we will also read special cases like imperative sentences, to objects, etc. And we will understand the types of questions asked in exam. So there is everything about voice in this video. If you find this video to be beneficial, please share it with your friends. Now, without delay, let's start the video. First of all, what is active voice? In active voice, subject performs the action and object receives the action. Now there is a subject and an object in a sentence. Subject is the noun or pronoun which performs the action. An object is the noun or pronoun which receives the action. And the action is verb. So the structure of active voice is subject performing action on the object. For example, I am drinking coffee. Here I is the subject. Drinking is the main verb, the action. And coffee is the object on which action is happening. This is active voice. Now, let's understand what is passive voice. In passive voice, object receives the action. It shows that the object experiences an action rather than person who is performing it. So here, object upon which the action is happening is taken first and more importance is given to the object. And the sentence structure is subject, verb, object, but here the subject of the active sentence becomes object and the object of the active sentence becomes subject. Confused? Let's understand with the help of example. Active voice was I am drinking coffee, where I was subject and coffee was object. Now in this sentence, coffee is being drunk by me. Coffee, the object of active sentence, became subject here and coffee is given more importance here. Action is happening on coffee. Now let's understand why do we need passive voice at all. We need passive voice for three main reasons. First, when the subject is unknown, when we don't know who has done the action. For example, flowers were plucked from my garden. Who plucked the flower? I don't know. Whether my mother plucked, children plucked, or somebody from outside came and plucked the flower, I don't know. Hence, the subject is unknown. Another example, all the fruits have been distributed. Second reason is when we want to give more importance to the action. When the action is more important than who is doing it. For example, a borewell is being dug here. The action of borewell being dug is more important than who is doing it. Everybody's bag will be searched. By whom? Not important, but bags will be searched. Third reason is when the subject is obvious. For example, she was diagnosed with arthritis. It is obvious that doctors will diagnose her with arthritis. The thief was arrested last night. It is obvious that thieves are arrested by the police. Hence, the subject is obvious in this case. Now, conditions for converting active to passive voice. What are the conditions? First, we do not change the tense of the sentence. Second, the verb should always agree with the subject. And third, only transitive verb is changed into passive voice. Let's understand these conditions one by one with the example. So first condition is do not change the tense of the sentence. For example, active voice is I bake cakes. Now here the tense of the sentence is simple present tense. In the passive voice it will become cakes are baked by me. The word are refers to simple present tense. The second point is there should be subject-verb agreement. That means if the subject is singular, verb should also be singular. And if the subject is plural, verb should also be plural. In the active voice, we have singular subject I, and with singular subject I, we use bake. We will read more about subject-verb agreement in our video on subject-verb agreement. In the passive voice, cakes, which is plural, becomes the new subject. Hence, with cakes, we will write plural verb are. The third point is only transitive verb is changed into passive voice. Now what are transitive verbs? Transitive verbs are those verbs which pass the action to an object. That means we need objects in case of transitive verb. For example, the baby is drinking milk. Drinking is a transitive verb as it needs an object like milk, water, juice, etc. In the second sentence, the baby is crying. Crying is an intransitive verb because it doesn't need any object. Here in the active voice, we have cakes as object. Hence, it is transitive verb and it can be changed into passive voice. Now, let's see what are the various steps to convert active voice to passive voice. First step is we need to identify the subject, verb and object in the sentence. In active voice, Lena will distribute candies. We can easily identify that Lena is subject, distribute is the action, hence it is the main verb, and candies is the object. In the second step, we need to swap the subject with the object. That means we need to interchange the position of subject and object. Hence, candies becomes the new subject and Lena is the new object. In the third step, we need to change the main verb in its third form. That means past participle form. Here the main verb is distribute and its third form is distributed. In the fourth step, we need to add helping verb, that means form of to be before the main verb. In this example, distribute is the main verb, its third form is distributed, and helping verb is will be. The last step is to add by before the subject, preposition by before the subject. The active voice is Lena will distribute candies. It will convert into passive voice as candies will be distributed by Lena. Now let's understand the grammatical structure of passive voice. In passive voice, we have form of to be plus past participle form of verb. The forms of be, are, is, am, are used in present tense. Was or were are used in past tense depending on the subject. Been is used in perfect tense and being is used in continuous tense. Let's understand these with the help of examples. In simple present tense, let's take a sentence. He writes articles. In its passive voice, it will be articles are written by him, where are is the form of be and written is the past participle form of verb writes. Next example, simple past tense. He writes articles. In simple past tense will become he wrote articles. Passive conversion will be articles were written by him, where were is the form of be and written is the past participle form of write. Next, present perfect tense. In present perfect tense, the active voice will be he has written articles and passive voice will be articles have been written by him. Have been written is form of be plus past participle form. Past perfect tense, he had written articles and passive voice, articles had been written by him. Also, present continuous tense, he is writing articles. Passive voice will be articles are being written by him. In continuous form, we use being. Past continuous, he was writing articles. Articles were being written by him. We'll also see future tense. In simple future tense, active voice will be he will write articles and passive voice, articles will be written by him. Future perfect tense, he will have written articles. Passive voice, articles will have been written by him, where will indicates future and have indicates perfect tense. One important point to note here is sentences written in present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future continuous and future perfect continuous are not converted into passive voice. Try to convert a sentence if you can. Now, if the subject is pronoun, it will change in its object form in following ways. I becomes me, he becomes him, she becomes her, we becomes us, and they becomes them. Let's see examples. I kicked the football. Here I is the subject which will convert into object me in passive voice. The football was kicked by me. They are chasing the lion. They subject will convert into object them. The lion is being chased by them. She will clean the room. The room will be cleaned by her. Now let's understand some cases when there are two objects in a sentence. How will we convert into passive voice? In that case, we have to identify the direct and the indirect object. For example, I baked a cake for my mother. Here, Cake is the direct object because the action of baking is happening directly on cake. And my mother is the indirect object because the cake, direct object cake, is going to mother. So in the passive voice, we will see that we take the main object first. A cake was baked by me for my mother, or we can also write it as a cake was baked for my mother by me. Now try to do the other example by yourself. The principal gives prizes to the winners. The answer will be prizes are given to the winners by the principal. Another case is that of imperative sentences. Imperative sentences are those sentences in which we give command, we request, or we give order. That means we tell somebody to do something. Rules are slightly different depending on the sense of sentences in case of imperative sentences, and you have to understand it very keenly. It is very important. We generally use let in imperative sentences. For example, in the sentence pass the bottle, there is no subject apparently. How will you convert? Although there appears to be no subject, but we consider the subject as the apparent subject as you. Hence, its passive form will be let. We will use let. Then the object becomes the subject, the bottle. Form of be and past participle form of the action, past, which will be passed. So the passive form will be let the bottle be passed. Can you try this sentence by yourself? Open the door. Yes, start with let. Let and then the object which becomes the subject. Let the door be opened. There are other examples as well. For example, do not cut fruits. Now this is a negative sentence. Hence its passive voice should also be negative. Let the fruits not be cut. Study hard. Now there is a different way of converting this sentence. Here we will see the sense of the sentence. We can see that it is an advice. So we can convert it as you are advised to study hard. Please give me some water. It's a request. We can convert it as you are requested to give me some water. This is how we convert imperative sentences. If you have any question related to imperative sentences, please write in the comment section and we will discuss it more. Now, verbs with preposition or adverbs. How do we change such sentences? We do not separate the preposition or adverb from the verb. For example, in this sentence, he shouted at me, where at is preposition. In the passive voice, first swap the subject and object. So, me will become I and he becomes the new object, which is him. Then, form of be, which is was, since the sentence is in simple past tense. I was. Now we keep the preposition and the verb together. I was shouted at. And then add preposition by. I was shouted at by him. I have given you another sentence. Can you try to convert this sentence? I always trust you. Always trust is the verb and adverb combination. So it will be you are always trusted by me. Now, indefinite pronouns. When the subject is an indefinite pronoun, then we don't need to mention the subject as the new object in passive voice. If active voice is somebody has taken my book has been taken. We don't need to write by somebody. Has anybody answered the question? Has the question been answered? Now, what kind of questions are asked in the exam? In the exams, questions can be direct conversion or in the form of process writing, error detection, omission, or in the form of fill the gaps. We have already done many examples on direct conversion. Let's see a question on process writing. In process writing, a set of instructions is given and on the basis of instructions, you have to complete the paragraph. You can either go through the instructions first and then start reading the paragraph, or you can start from the paragraph and go to the instructions one by one. In this particular question, a set of instructions for making strawberry smoothie has been given. So let's start from reading the paragraph. Strawberry pulp and sugar dash. If we read the first instruction, it is take strawberry pulp and sugar, which is in simple present tense. Strawberry pulp and sugar is object in this sentence. Hence, it will be taken as subject in passive voice, which is already taken in the paragraph. So we can continue with strawberry pulp and sugar are taken. Next, they are mixed nicely in a mixer grinder, which comes from the second instruction. Mix them nicely using a mixer grinder. Similarly, one by one, we can go through the instructions and fill in the blanks. Third, yogurt and ice cubes are added to the mixture. All the ingredients are blended well. The smoothie is poured into a tall glass. A straw is arranged with strawberry fan and is served immediately. You can pause the video and go through the instructions carefully and then see whether all the blanks have been filled appropriately or not. Let's do examples on error detection, omission and gap fillings also. First two questions are on error detection, second two on omission, and third two on gap filling. Take 20 seconds, go through the questions and try to do them yourself. If you need more time, you can pause the video and do them yourself. These are the kind of questions that you get in exams. Done? Should we discuss? Okay, let's start. First is error detection. In the first two sentences, there is error in the sentence. A hole was being dug here. Do you think it is correct? No, it's not correct because been should be replaced by being as it is past continuous tense. Later, it was filled with stones. Fill is incorrect as we use third form of verb. So it should be filled. Next two questions are on omission. That means a word is missing in the sentence and we have to find that word. He was advised to work hard as he was failing in his exams. The export of rice has been banned by India. Last, gap filling. You have to simply fill in the blank. A presentation is being prepared by the students. Dash the show be started. It should be let the show be started. So this was whole video on active and passive voice. I hope you have understood it well. If you still have any question, you can comment and I will answer to it. I will see you in my next video. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.